You know,
And I don't want to be
I promised Rachel when I turned 40, like I wouldn't go crazy with the color.
Yeah.
Are you 40?
Yeah. I act 20, I know. Yeah. I'm 40.
Okay, who's had a chance to take a look at the agenda? I would like to make a motion to approve it. Donna,
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
thank you. And it's seconded by Gary. All in favor? Okay. And how about the minutes from our last meeting? Which was not December.
No.
November 8th, November. So, anybody have anything to add or delete? It's not allowed to delete, are we?
If I said something random, edit. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's
If
fine.
there's something we're uncomfortable with, then it's.
I'd be surprised. Okay, who'd like to make the recommendation to approve the minutes?
Sure, I'll move to accept the minutes.
Second it.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go on to the next.
Slow down.
Come on, Steph.
That's
I got a presentation at 3 to figure out here.
Oh, okay. So we have Rod and John here to talk about skate park.
Yep.
Hi, guys.
Yay.
Hi.
Nice.
Good.
Awesome.
Progress.
So Steph's giving you a generous 45 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I'm gonna give you 45 minutes.
That's a lot. We might be able to build a skate park in 40.
One bowling?
Okay, maybe not.
All right.
All right, so,
Thanks for coming.
yeah, well, we're here because we want to get a skate park built on Bowen. Thank you, Steph. And,
Got lights
You know-
down, guys?
Sure. It's
Yeah.
not a very exciting PowerPoint, so there you go.
anyways, it's nothing new. It's been proposed before. It's never gone anywhere.
No.
You know what I mean? We've tried, Matt, who was in my position before, made a valiant attempt and met with a lot of resistance on many levels and ended up getting a grant from the RCMP and got some ramps built, like ramps and rails and boxes and stuff. And so we currently use that kind of gear for skateboarding. And what we would do is we store it at the youth center and we would pull it out and use it in the parking lot. However, that parking lot is now it's been pitted because there's a gravel driveway that goes down to it. So you can't ride a skateboard on it anymore. It's the gravel. So what we do is once a month, we take all the gear, we pop it in my truck, we drive it over to Fire Hall number 2, we set up all the gear, kids skate. I mean, it's quite an ordeal, but it's really fun. And actually what we found is we get the youth, but we've also sort of let the younger kids come as well. And been massively popular, right? And then I don't know if you guys saw, but in the summer we brought over Kevin Harris, who's like a skateboarding legend for Pal Peralta and his demo team, and did a big presentation about. They have a great presentation about. Well, I mean, they do skateboarding demo, you know, and the guys they bring are amazing, like top in the world freestyle skaters. But they also have a great talk about the positive aspects of skateboarding on the community and the positive aspects of skateboarding on youth, you know, giving them something to do, kids who have no other outlet, that kind of stuff. They brought a guy named Constable Troy Derrick from Surrey RCMP, and he's an RCMP officer, he's a First Nations guy, and he's a skater. Yeah, so talk about somebody marginalized, you know what I mean? And he's got a fantastic story, and he makes a really nice presentation about the story of his life. Anyways, so I'd really like to get a skate park built, and Rod has been so great and has really jumped on board here. And, we had an initial idea Am I moving ahead of our stuff here, Rod, or?
No, but maybe I should just jump in and say
Sure.
where I sort of am fitting in at this point.
Sure.
And because all those things that John was talking about, this sort of history ongoing of lots of ideas about skate parks, but not really getting anything done. To me, it really comes down to having a location and then putting together, a real workable solution. And from my perspective, I took up skateboarding when I was 40, so I'm still pretty excited about it. And my daughter is interested in skateboarding, and I just see how it's such a great community builder that I didn't know about for the first 40 years of my life, which is really amazing. And then the other amazing thing is since talking to John and just putting some feelers out into the community, people just come out of the woodwork. Like people that I knew about when Matt had put together the skateboard ramps for the youth center and worked with Spectrum Skate Park and was part of some of that discussion. And I even wrote on them a little bit. But I realized that really as things move forward, and particularly as I see a steady move towards a community center or some development of community lands, that there's an opportunity that's going to come up at some point for a skate park to be built. And if we have the kind of not very organized approach that's been coming so far with the skateboard park, an opportunity could be missed. And I think it was Terrace BC, I was reading, I get different feeds through social media about skate park groups, and Terrace started to recently they built a skate park, or it's in process right now. But the first opportunity that they had a spot, and the community and the municipal land was available, and there was a matching 70% grant, and I don't even know where it was from, but I'd have to pull up the article, up to $700,000 to build a skateboard park that they missed because they weren't ready. And so now the community has put in $500,000 with another $200,000 in grants, and are building a $700-something thousand skate park.
Which is a big skate park.
Which is a big, beautiful skate park. But at the same time, if there was 70% of the funding available, beyond what private contributions and other things could be, it could happen. And if we're ready, then it will happen. And if we're not ready, then we'll wait till next time or pay more or something else. And so this is what really got me excited about talking to John, because John is putting it out to the community, let's build a skate park. How can we do this? Is it gonna be homegrown? Is it gonna be something that's built in concrete that's really gonna serve the community over a long time? Or is it gonna be pavement? Is it gonna be portable ramps, which have marginal use? So there's all these things that are out there, and I just see it as such an opportunity to get some official and some like a task force is what I think it is, together, that has some real measurable steps and can start applying to grants, that has the backing of the community, that can engage the community, talk about what it is that we want, and then get it built. That's why those 3 words came up when I was thinking about my presentation. So that's where I'm coming from.
And we tried before, we had a plan in sort of in partnership with the Community Foundation to try to get one built just by the parking lot at the youth center. And Andy Fairweather, Rainsley, sorry, remember Rainsley? His son Finn is a big part of this. This all started really with Finn and Thomas. It was a youth-led initiative through the Community Foundation, and this was their idea. So Finn and Thomas Pedley came to the idea, they made designs, and we talked about, oh man, we were going to pave the thing to get rid of the gravel and all this stuff, but the costs were getting. So anyways, we ended up with a little design that was going to cut into the hill. Probably, Andy said maybe it cost us about 70 grand. It was tiny. However, just with that little project, we had almost 50 grand in-kind donations offered almost immediately. Andy offered his machines, his trucks. JP was going to give us concrete at cost. I mean, it was like, everybody was in, right? So anyways, everyone I've spoken to, now that didn't work out, because the Children's Center was going to extend parking, and it just never passed their their board. Actually, well, anyways, it got very confusing, and then they started building more stuff. So we thought, well, maybe that's not the idea. Maybe we shouldn't do it on private land. Maybe we could do it on municipal land, which seems to make more sense. There was some people suggested maybe up by Tiernaug, where there's that parking lot with nothing, you know what I mean, between the grass field and the Tiernaug parking lot. However, you got that up the hill, what are you gonna have? You're gonna skateboard bombing down.
Going down the hill.
You know what I mean? They're gonna go skating, then they gotta get home somehow.
Then
So,
they
you
gotta-
know,
Oh.
that's not a great idea.
Good
No.
point.
Sounds
Someone's
like
gonna-
fun.
What a great story.
Conundrum.
Well, me and Rob.
Bring a
Anyways,
longboard.
so then, I mean, the thing that makes the most sense is to have it tie in with the community center, where you'd have community center with a skate park, like every other town in the world. And then you'd have,
Well, they have a community center.
well, that's a bit wrong. And then you'd have your, you know, your fields, your school, your bike park, your youth center. It's a big strip. It makes sense. So we've had, through the Kevin Harris connection, we've had New Line Skate Parks, which is the largest skate park building company in the world.
Sorry,
New Line, yeah. And they've been super helpful. I mean, yeah, sure, they'd love the contract, they'd love to build it, but outside of that, they will give us all kinds of advice, designs. Rod and I were talking about this a while ago, like sizes. They said, well, you know, if we propose something and it's too big, you can make it smaller. Well, they've got designs for all different sizes that they're willing to just provide us with it, no problem, and give us the cost estimates and all that kind of stuff. So tremendous support from them. Kevin Harris, who's, you know, he owns the biggest skateboard distribution company in Canada, one of the biggest in North America. He's happy to come over and help with any presentation we have to give to council or whatnot. So I'm going to slide two. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I just wanna say,
Yeah.
you do know about the other plan that was supposed to be in lot 1? There was actual design and everything done?
I think that was with regards to Artisan Square development, is that what it
No,
was, or-
no, I can't remember who was involved with it, but it was gonna be across the school in that little piece of land that goes like this, you know, you got Mount Gardner and so there was a whole design and everything done there. I just saying it didn't work because again, the property was not gonna work very well for a skateboard park.
A lot of traffic.
But yeah, traffic in the hill and all that sort of stuff. But I just want you to know that there was a plan out there. So
Yeah.
people are gonna come at you and say, well, wait a minute, there was a plan, there was a design
Yeah.
Right.
done.
And I think there was more than just that. I think that there
There was
were various initiatives, citizen-led, you know, sometimes youth, sometimes not.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
The one I'm talking about went sort of the farthest,
Mhm.
and, you know, actually having some guy from town come and do the design.
Right, right.
Sorry, I can't remember any of these names, but,
And in saying that, and I think that's a really important point, I think that engage the community is super important. And I get where John is coming from in the sense that there are lots of resources out there to get something designed. There is lots of support and there's lots of interest to do that by local people and by other independent contractors. But what I see at this point is we don't have a piece of land. We don't exactly know what we want. And so it's more fact-finding than designing anything right now. This engage section is the most important, and it goes on as long as it needs to until we find the location, or until like that location and money thing comes together. And there's no point in finalizing a design or pitching a specific idea. In fact, I think that, you know, like that youth-led one that you were talking about that came up with a design that could happen by the Children's Center, you know, if that had gone forward, if there was everything sort of lined up, you have to ask yourself, would that still be the best solution for the community? Or would it be better to wait 2 years and put the concrete in the ground next to a community center, which might serve the community better? You know, and so what we want to do is make sure we're poised to, at this point, I think, with this group, in a more structured way, look at the opportunities as they come up. And so this was my list after John and I met a number of times in the fall, just kind of going through things and talking through things. And this is what I thought was sort of our, in priority, our immediate goals. And so first is just to form an official group, because John and I have sat down, and I don't know even how we would do that. Like, I think probably through the Recreation Commission, and somehow being directed by council to be a recognized organization.
Yeah, so what happened with the bike park is that we went into a collaborative project service agreement with the bike park group.
Right.
And that's signed between the municipality and the main people in the group who signed that.
Right, okay.
And that's the model I think we'd like to follow too, because they've done quite well with that, so we've sort of been watching what they do, and they did it right. So that's the model we'd like to follow with the bike park. And we have a number of people already willing to participate in the working group in various levels. We've got people who are like straight in, people who are going to donate time and or resources. We've got people who will be liaisons to different community groups. So there's a lot of interest in it. I tell you, I haven't met one person yet who tells me it's a bad idea. Which on loan is amazing.
That's amazing.
It's always a great idea until you start talking about money.
That's right.
Facebook,
Yeah.
I'm toast.
Yeah.
So I just skipped forward for a second. So what I think we've seen so far, and John, this is just a short list of people, you don't need to be able to read it necessarily, but of people that we think would be core people who already have expressed an interest in some way or have said they have something to offer. And I think that list will expand. So I kind of see it as being under the direction of the youth coordinator, because John is in that position and he's interested and wants to do it, that we have a core task force. So I could chair that, or someone else could, or we could have co-chairs, but we would have an actual formal small group, 4 or 5, a committee that would essentially work with the Recreation Commission, that would, do the liaisons with the community that need to happen that way. And then there would be specifically some youth members, and that would probably change. Whereas I see this group existing, over a long period of time. Like, it might be 10 years before this park is built. Hopefully it's sooner, but maybe it's longer.
It might be built in phases.
And it could be built in phases, and then there's operations, and how does it, just work with the community. So the youth members could be shorter term or even temporary term, but we would always have recognized youth members. And then liaison people, with the different groups on the island that would have an interest. And, we haven't had a specific discussion, for instance, with the Rotary or other community groups, but often they are involved in skate park development in the community. So, we'd want to make sure that we're connected to them. And then the larger contact list, and inventory all the skills, interests, and contributions that people want to make, so that we can just access that. And it doesn't matter, it can be passed on through other people.
It's worth mentioning too, the skate park isn't just for skateboards, it's multi-use. It could be
That's
scooters,
right.
it could be
Yeah.
bikes, it's little
Right.
kids, it's youth, it's adults.
Yeah, that's
It's
what we
old
got
guys
to add.
looking around.
Let's make sure there's parts in there for the little ones.
Absolutely.
Because they're gonna play.
Well, they're, you know what?
Yeah.
When I do those skate days, they're let's say 11, even like 5 to 11. Those are the kids and parents that are actually really stoked. They're always like, "Can you bring me?" They are really excited.
Yeah.
So how it has worked for the bike park group is that they secured the land through the municipality and had the collaborative project service agreement. The bike park group has basically done, they have liaisons with myself as the for recreation, and with Bonnie, who is the manager of parks. And we and because of where the bike park is situated, we've worked with Scott Slater at Bix, the principal of the school, and also Metro Parks, because we have to go through Metro to get to the bike park. So we're working with them on trails and access and signage. But the bike park group itself has basically taken on all of the fundraising, hiring the designer, hiring the builder, working with them, with Bonnie and myself, working closely with them as well to pull all of that together, which basically takes those just because the municipality doesn't have those resources to pull all of that together, the staff resources to do that. So they've taken on all the fundraising and everything for that. And they're really close. It's looking like it'll be built during spring break.
So you have to submit, you wouldn't have to submit the design in order to maintain the land parcel. Because what I'm thinking is.
The
I
design
think
did
they
have to
could-
go to council
Yeah,
to
I
be
think they came
approved.
for the
Yeah.
land first, and we sort of said, well, yeah,
Well,
we'll give you the land. but-
here's my thinking on that, is if it's integrated into the community center, well, until that is like fully in design phase, we don't really know what size. We can accommodate different sizes,
Yeah,
but how do you know what?
That's a
yeah.
land issue, Gary. I
Yes.
don't know if I can speak to that.
I wish I could speak to it, and obviously, I mean, there's a lot of balls in the air, let's not be, coy about it.
Yeah.
First of all, the community center, I mean, we're fighting to get that built. And the other thing that's happening in that lot too is we're trying to do a comprehensive plan for the whole lot.
Yeah.
And, what I would like to happen, and I don't know if it's gonna happen, is we secure some land beside the plan we have now for the community center. So, secure some land beside it,
Right.
which would be at the far end, sort of getting around to the corner of the fence of the field there.
The baseball.
Yes, where the old baseball diamond in that corner. And, for various options that we're not supposed to mention, but let's just say in the future at some point in time, there's a swimming pool. But I live. Did I say that again? Did I mention the SP again?
Yeah.
I just went through all those comments and feedback and stuff, and it just goes on and on. But anyway, let's just say, we want to set aside some land. And I think that would be an amazing place for the skate park.
Yeah.
Right beside, in the fence, towards that corner. Right? I really think it can happen. I think it would be a tremendous community amenity. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
You need a little bit, you gotta get a little bit deeper as far as organization and that sort of thing to come to council and say, hey, here's what we wanna do, and then get councils, say, hey, you know what, I think we'd like to do that with you. Then it just takes off. Then it's just a matter of planning and, but at some point in time, you have to figure out how much dirt you're gonna need.
Mhm.
And
It's
one thing
also
that's a little different
referenced.
than the bike park is the bike park, we can go and take it back. It's just on loan.
It's just dirt too.
Yeah, it's just dirt, and, they're quite okay with that, because there's not a huge investment. This is gonna be a substantial investment, and of course, it's gonna be permanent, so that's gonna be a little bit different. But yeah, bring it on.
And in the end, the bike park becomes a municipal park. So the
Yes.
municipality will take on the maintenance
Right.
and the liability, and that with the bike park, I would assume it would be something similar to that with the skate
I
park.
think that's in just about every community, that's the way
Yeah.
it's structured. So, I mean, there are lots of examples of how to structure that. I think we just have to reach out.
It's also referenced in the community recreation plan that we had done last year and the parks plan.
Oh, good, okay.
Both of those, as well as
Yeah.
a sport court. which
Actually made it
is-
into the strategic plan, didn't
And yeah, maybe.
it? It might have got in there, yeah.
And the sport court
The sport court, yeah.
is also just another slab of
Yeah.
concrete, which is,
Yeah.
would also be great to have within that space. I like the fact that it might be, if it was
Could even-
beside the community center, it brings the youth to the community center,
Yeah.
it brings the youth in the doors.
Yeah.
Even if they're outside, it's also highly visible.
It has to have a high profile.
It's
location,
got a
there's
high
no question.
profile, and it's right there at
Well,
the
and
school,
it-
which it will become a hub if there's a community.
It's nice
Yeah.
to have a skate park that is visible too, because you have it off in the middle of nowhere, everybody worries, well, what are those kids doing off there?
Mhm.
Have a skate park.
And
It's
they
visible,
are-
you
they
see-
are doing it.
Hey, guess what they're doing? They're getting some exercise.
You don't have to wonder if they're doing it. Yeah, I remember when there's one up in North Van there off of Queens behind a community center, but it's way off in the woods. And I remember going in there at one point.
No, well.
There's one right at
that's-
Harry
That's the
Jerome.
goal, that's by
Is it Harry
Jerry Jerome.
Yeah, but is it way back in the woods?
No,
No,
it's
it's
right on the
Right in the
highway.
corner.
Okay, well, that's not the one I'm thinking of, because
Must
this
be
one was
another
way
one.
off in the woods, and it was quite a scene.
Well, that
Like, it
would-
wasn't comfortable for
The one-
kids or anything like
Oh,
that.
I know what
Park
you mean,
came.
but I think it's gone, because they
It
did
could
that
well be
whole,
gone.
they did
And
that
I'm
whole
going back,
community
I'm
center,
going
right?
back like 15 years. ago.
Yeah, I think it's, I think
mean,
it got torn up when they did the whole
Yeah.
building.
probably-
Yeah.
probably.
Parkgate is a great prime example of having a skateboard park front and center
Yeah.
with the community center, and it's in constant use. I haven't been there for some years now, but back when we were in Deep Cove, and it was
Mhm, yeah.
great when it got put in. It's highly visible, it
Well,
looks great,
Lonsdale,
kids
too.
are there.
Yeah, Lonsdale's awesome, yeah.
And the Ambleside
Yeah.
one is right there at the
The
beach.
new
Yeah, the
revamp.
outside, it's,
Outside.
it's being
Yeah.
used all the time.
It's always being used.
Yeah.
The old
It's
swimming
very
pool.
busy. It's not beside the swimming pool.
No, it's the old swimming pool.
Oh, the old swimming, yes.
The old swimming pool, yeah.
Yeah. Well, make it a big oval, and we could turn it into.
We could fill it.
In the winter months.
When it rains a
Curating
lot,
the
it's
skating,
the swimming pool.
Plug the drain and multi-purpose, everything that we do has to be multi-purpose.
Skating rink.
We do like collaborations, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
And that works really well. I don't know what else to say. I think try to get this organization together, and I'm certainly willing to come along for the ride.
Great.
And,
So what would
we'll
you
see where it
suggest
goes.
in terms of going to, when to go to council, when they've got a bit more?
I think
It's
so,
hard
I
to
would
move
dig a little deep,
forward.
I would try to get this group together and have a meeting.
Yeah, and you see, when I was writing this, I said, hold a professionally facilitated open meeting, and I don't even mean facilitated by one of the New Line Skate Park people.
No.
I think we should have an outside facilitator, and I know John had mentioned to me that people in the community have already said, hey, if there's gonna be a skate park, you know, we've got some contributions to make financially, and I think that one of the first tasks of the core group is to sit down and say, okay, well, let's put a budget together to actually engage the community. You know, and, you know, some of that's, a lot of it's gonna be volunteer, but some of it may be paid, and, you know, like, because I think going to council, if we've really gone through our list and created a terms of reference that's really understandable and engaged the community already and flushed out issues, then it's gonna be a walk in the
Yeah,
park.
then you'll be golden.
Yeah.
But should,
But you definitely have to, and you don't have to do fundraising yet, but you definitely have to get that group together. So it just gives it some legs, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so when you come to council, it's just not
should
sort
we
of
be
pie in the
making a
sky.
recommendation to council
Yeah,
at this
I
point?
would say it's
That, or just basically saying that we, as a recreation, support this
the initiative.
initiative, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
That would be appreciated.
Something actionable
Yeah, for
for
sure.
council though, just that the committee.
Yeah, it's just a committee.
Well, Kevin said he was willing to come and help us with this kind of stuff too. And
Yeah.
He's done this a million times in a whole bunch of different communities and knows all the ins and outs and in terms of how to get things organized and get things moving. And so I reached out to him, see if he'd be willing to come over. He's like I say, he's done it so many times. He knows
Yeah.
where
Those
we
new line,
might be lacking.
those
and
new
what we
line
can
guys
work
are
on.
good too, because they're just so
Yeah.
enthusiastic.
Yeah, we need to draw on all those
Unbelievable.
resources.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So do you want it to be say, I've just had something very basic here, but do you want it to say anything about the collaborative? I just have now the Recreation Commission endorse the efforts of the group of community members who are working towards the construction of a skate park.
Yeah, I think that's all we need for now, yeah.
Yeah, I think council needs to hear about it before we do the collaborative project.
Yes, I definitely, yes.
Just
no question.
general?
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
just
send
to
it out
say
there,
that we're.
and then
behind
some
it.
they'll pick up
The
on
group
it.
of two right now,
A
but
group of two,
Yeah,
yeah.
should I say as presented? No, just leave that.
just leave it,
Just leave it.
because right now it's not really any, well, I mean, you guys have done quite a bit of work, but still, it's not really anything, so, but we're
Yeah.
supporting whatever you get
The
done.
idea.
So, yeah, the idea.
Concept, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and thank you for taking that on.
Yeah,
Yeah, fantastic.
nobody's voted on anything.
oh,
Would anyone like to move?
do we have to vote on
What
it?
is it? Is it-
I think we have to
Recommendation.
recommend, right? We have to
Okay.
make a
Who'd
recommendation.
like to make the recommendation?
I'll recommend that we
Okay.
Yeah, good.
advise council that we're interested in pursuing the possibility of a skateboard park.
And seconded by Pam. All in favor? There we go.
Perfect, done.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much.
That's great, thanks,
Awesome,
guys.
thank you guys for putting this on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
let's see it
Great.
happen.
I guess one thing that I've been thinking about just before we leave is
Oh, yeah.
this terms of reference. I think is really important, and it's not something that I've necessarily gone through the exercise of before, but I'm aware of it, and I looked at some basic method, like sort of point items. But is there I mean, I know Gary, you're keen to help with how you can. I mean, and Shauna, you said you're sort of a liaison with the bike park people. Like, who can help us with this? That's what I want to know.
I would say that try to get your group together,
Yeah,
and that should be something that happens at the group level. That's
Yeah.
one of the first things that should happen.
yeah,
And then you get a chairman and a vice chair and all that stuff, and also your terms of reference, establish those.
right.
Shauna.
We could
is
just share the
aids.
bike,
Yeah. Share that.
I'd say
share the bike park.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In terms of
Yeah.
I mean,
That'd
there's,
be
you
good.
know, there's experience amongst the staff.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna leave you hanging out there to try to figure out
Yeah.
this.
So in terms of liaison, you probably invite me and Bonnie from Parks.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. I've talked to Bonnie about
To
it
be
before,
liaisons
so-
for your group,
Sure.
as a link to the municipality.
Great. We've probably got, 5 or 6 people already that are,
Great,
said they're
Yeah.
on board, so.
yeah.
So I know you've thought about it, and for phase 1, what kind of money are you talking about?
Depends on the size. That's the
It-
thing.
Well,
Depends on if you want to
You've
sing
thought
in
about
there.
it. You've thought about it. I know you've thought
Does it
about it.
sing?
You don't actually, I hesitate for John to answer this question because I think, the numbers I threw out with Terrace at the beginning, it really depends. Like, if this thing really came together, like a park like Ambleside, I don't know if you've walked around the revamped Ambleside Park, which is just a flat ground park. But my wild guess is that, because it was flat ground to begin with, and what they did is they tore it all up and they repaved it in concrete, put some new features in. But nothing is like, there's no pool, there's no, there's no great big part of it. That's probably like a $200,000 project.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't limit anything. Like maybe it could be done for $70,000, something. Like your sport court, kind of idea where we just add some concrete features that could be, extensions of the sport court. But really, what is a fantastic skate park probably costs $500,000 or $700,000. And so I don't know. I have this feeling with the enthusiasm that's out there and the occasional grants and matching monies and things that come along that, we shouldn't set our sights too low in terms of what we want to build. And then as for the square footage, well, different styles of park have different square footages.
Yeah.
They can be very compact, or they can be really great, spread out, and have different areas of interest and different levels and skill levels and that sort of thing. So depending on the amount of land and then what we
Yeah,
want.
the one in Kamloops at MacArthur Island Park, I don't know if it is massive,
Yeah.
but there's little kids in one area and adults but
Well,
they're all right
Or the
there.
Whistler one is a
Whistler.
fantastic example as well.
And it was built in sections too.
It was built in stages, yeah.
I put the bowl in when I was 12.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah,
Sat on council and got that put in.
Yeah, it's more a function of size. I'm thinking not so much
Yeah.
thoughts of size,
Yeah.
because that's,
Well, that's where the New Line guys can help us with design ideas in terms, and also cost estimates.
Yeah.
Because they said, look, do you know how much land you're getting? I said, I don't know if we're getting any land, but it might be this big, it might be that big. I said, well, don't worry, we've got lots of different designs for all different sizes, and they're happy to just show us them free of
yeah,
charge.
everyone's different, isn't it? Yeah.
Right, or you can tweak them.
And so they will know, this is the size of the population, this is an adequate park for this 5,000 people, say.
You could do it that way, or it could be just based on the design in terms of what kind of terrain you want, because there's so many different types of skate
Yeah.
terrain. There's flatland, there's bowls, there's,
Don't do a bowl.
It would be
pump
interesting.
tracks.
No, they had a bowl at Glen Eagles, I worked there, and it never, except for the real hot shots, it just didn't get used.
Oh, I guess I might say.
all the time.
You guys must be hot shots!
Is there a limit as to how much land that the municipality would be willing to?
Oh,
Well, they haven't even thought about it
Like
yet.
that's you could be capped simply just by the amount of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, so,
It's probably a good idea to come up with a couple of plans.
Yeah, I
Plan
think so.
A, a plan B, and
It
a
might-
plan C.
C.
It might also be good to explore various locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to have backup
Municipal
locations and backup plans.
Okay, I'm gonna cut this off.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I am sorry, but we got a fair amount to do, and we could go on for a few weeks.
I
probably,
gotta go
talking about
cook some
all
ribs.
Yeah, great idea.
Can I just make one more suggestion?
Yes.
Just in terms of, and I'm sure this is part of the plan already as well, because you had some youth things in there, but what might be good when you're talking about features that you want is to maybe do a little workshop with youth who you know are interested. And it sounds like you did that with Finn and Thomas, but to be able to invite a bunch of them to find out what the community wants, council will
Sure.
like to see that that is part of the engagement, that the
Yeah.
users have been consulted in how, what they might want.
Well, there's those guys, the Ruloff boys, there's quite a few kids who are pretty interested in, and would love to participate and get their, are you kidding?
Yeah.
What do you want on a
Yeah.
skateboard? They'd be like,
I want this, and I want that, I want.
Yeah, when
Well,
the
get
council,
get those
fill
Ruloff
every
boys
chair.
involved.
And I think that's what happened with the
That's
bike
with the
park
bike
too,
park. Yeah, it is,
is
isn't it?
that
Yeah.
I
even at the
remember.
council meeting, all the kids came.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
With their bike helmets.
with their bike helmets on.
how do you say no?
Quite a, yeah, please, sir.
Well, thanks again for your time,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much
much
for coming.
Thanks, Rod. Yeah, take care.
We appreciate the work, it looks good.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to more.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Steph,
you.
for
Thank you.
Okay, elections. Who knew?
I was sitting here quietly thinking, wow, we were supposed to,
Thank
we
you.
didn't know we were doing a
No, I didn't know we were doing elections.
I
I guess I should have looked at my email.
I know, I think that was in the
Too late to mail,
agenda.
just stay home. Then you would've got elected for sure. Do you get elected?
The sign is not.
What's your platform?
My platform is that I'm the one to run it. Somebody else needs to do this.